Here's a little bit of an introduction about PWM controllers, pulse width modulation controllers. Not the nasty horrible things that are used for providing a very cheap way of getting the solar charge into a battery. I hate those, they're very inefficient and waste energy. These are for controlling motors. So this one's a 60 amp controller. I want a bit over the top ordering this. It comes with a switch which allows the controller via those relays to run this fan in forward or reverse direction, and there's a potentiometer there which has got 3 wires that provide speed control and 2 wires that provide an on-off function to the circuit. The way one of these things works is very simple. One of those little chips down there, probably the one on the far right, is a timer, and it simply turns these heavy duty transistors on and off very rapidly dependent on the setting on this potentiometer here, and the on off variable switching controls the fan. It's a much more efficient way, because you don't have any issues with heat, of controlling the fan, because basically you're pumping 12 volts at that fan for a split second, then turning it off, then pumping it back in again. So the fan receives all the power it needs to operate. If you use an ordinary resistor and sort of stick 2 or 3 volts in the fan motor or any kind of motor, it won't necessarily start up and run nicely, and you're wasting energy. So finally I'll connect this up to the battery, which is a little motorbike battery, and wait for my watt meter to burst in life. Obviously currently there you can see, or just about to see, 12.75 volts and 0 amps. I've now just switched it on and it is drawing just under 1/3 of an amp, and you can hear the fan going. And the resistor, the variable resistor, simply changes the frequency of the voltage being applied to this. It's increasing the frequency, so the net result is more voltage is being applied to the fan than not. Flat out, this fan draws just under 3 amps, 3.6 amps. The label on the back of this fan suggests it's 130 watts, it's not. It's about 30 watts at the most, 40 watts. But I'm going to be using this in my camper van, and I wanted to slow it down because flat out, that's noisy in the van. Whereas like that, much nicer. And then with the switch, I can stop it and then run it in the other direction. Stop it, run it the other direction. Very handy. So that just tests out this, that just proves out this little controller. And then this will go back in the van, in the roof of the van. This wired up somewhere, that knob somewhere. I've got a main on-off switch because I don't want this circuit powered up all the time. And then that's my directional switch there. So there's the finished installation from a switch point of view. That just turns 12 volt onto the PWM controller, which is tied away inside this piece of conduit. That's the potentiometer for control of the speed, with a knob that I think I made it ages ago. I found it and I thought that'd be handy because the controller didn't turn up with a knob. And there is the directional switch. I replaced the original square one with a round switch because they're a hell of a lot easier to is that focusing? I don't know. Those round switches are a hell of a lot easier to install. They only need a 20mm hole. And I just realised, having walked back in the van, I've left the LED light strip on all night. This purple thing, in case you're wondering, we gave up with the original futon mattress we were using in combination with a Van Gogh Shangri-La self-inflating mattress. It was too much of a faff to set it all up. Absolute pain in the neck. So this is a Millard 3-piece mattress. It actually comes in these 3 parts. The original cover was all sewn together, so it was a 1-piece unit that you could fold. But we split this up into 3 separate sections, and then just for storage I've got the 3rd part strapped up there. This actual mattress we will be using in the crafter, and I will be cutting one of these sections down. And once I do that, we can store it over there out of the way, except when we're doing washing up and stuff. But these handholds in the ambulance and a couple of matching handles there, which are the same as the ones we got there, that's given me a really handy way to just get that out of the way when we're walking about the van. When we don't need to have it strapped up here, we'll probably stick it in the front seats, but that gives us a full length mattress, and hopefully it's going to be a lot more comfortable and certainly a hell of a lot easier to set up. So coming back to the PWM controller, originally it was controlled by 2 buttons on the Genesis control panel in the van. That required Genesis to be on. Genesis is power hungry. I don't want it on all the time. So the only function we now have for Genesis in this van in relation to this controller is the central lock-in, which I can use in the van when Genesis is on, which is typically when we've got the ignition on, and control over the climate controller, which again will only operate when the engine's running because the aircon doesn't work when the engine's not running. So that control panel there is pretty much redundant now, other than it's got some coloured lights in it and it fills a hole. And so I've still got Genesis in this van, but it does nothing, absolutely nothing that we need when we're parked up. So it gets switched off. Right, back to this gadget. So turn it on. There's actually an off switch in the potentiometer as well, but that only controls the power to the actual controller. And I actually put a separate off switch on with a 5-amp fuse. And then I've got that set down for extract. And away we go. And I don't know if you can hear it. Turn it right up, you probably can. And that's much more acceptable for use when we're cooking and just need a bit of ventilation. Flat out is just far, far too loud. It's not a large, it's only about 9 inches wide, the fan, so obviously the motor's designed to run like a mad thing in order to get the air out through it. If it was a nice big fan filling that void there where the window goes, obviously it could run at a lot slower rate and you get a lot less noise. But that would do us. And then switch it to centre off just to give the motor time to stop, because you don't want to reverse it while it's going the other way. Back the other way. Bingo. In and out. I'm happy with that. So turning that off, that turns off the power to the controller, and that turns a whole lot off. There you go. Job done. Another little add-on that we've now got better control over than having to rely on doing it via the original Genesis control panel. Thanks for watching.